What's up, friends? Today we're here on the Exway Flex and we are out after a rainstorm. It rained most of the night, and today we're going to be trying to test out a little bit of the grip qualities of the Exway Hydro wheels. And you might notice that on here right now are not those wheels, but I need to get a baseline for what grip is like with urethane before I can tell if the Hydro wheels are actually making a difference. So what I'm going to do right now is try to find some wetness. It's actually dried up a good bit, but I should be able to find some wet area to test out the grippiness of the Hydro wheels. A lot of the concrete around is still wet while the asphalt has mostly dried up. If you recall, the Hydro wheels are a combination of rubber and urethane, and I actually thought they had pretty decent grip in the last video I did on them. If you haven't checked that out, check it out in the iCard. I forget which side it's on, but yeah, you can check that out. And today I'm hoping to prove that the rubber is actually doing something, because when you're comparing rubber and urethane, one of the major differences is supposedly grip on wet surfaces, as well as the ability to be more grippier in general. So I expect the Exway Hydro wheels to do pretty well here and feel a lot grippier than the urethane. So right now I'm going to go find a suitable testing spot, and we're going to do a little bit of testing to see how these wheels do. Alright guys, so I have wandered around a little bit and I found this large area of wet sidewalk, as well as some puddles here. And it's worth mentioning, Exway does not recommend that you do this with their board, but it just so happens that this is the only board that I have that has a waterproof rating. So we're going to be attempting this, so sorry Exway, but you wanted me to do this video, so here we go. Now, I'm going to do a couple braking tests on this wet concrete, and basically I'm just going to speed up to, like, I don't know, 10 miles an hour, and I'm going to stop at the same line on the concrete, and then I'll go ahead and switch to the Hydro wheels, and we'll see what the difference is. In addition, I'm going to just ride up and down this a couple times and spray water everywhere with these wheels. And I've got the GoPro down there, I think you can see that on the board, and we're going to observe how the water is flung around and see if it changes when we go to the Hydro wheels. I expect that the fling pattern, if you want to call it that, will be very different, as well as I expect the braking on the Hydro wheels to be better. I'm not sure if this Exway actually has enough braking force to brake traction, but we'll see in a couple minutes here. Alright, well now, in addition to my board being very wet, we have a little bit of data on how the water reacts to these standard wheels. Now this isn't exactly fair because we're comparing these to 105mm wheels at the same gear ratio, so the braking on the Hydro wheels is going to be worse. But my main thing that I'm trying to figure out is if there's more wheel slip, because with these wheels there's a little bit of wheel slip due to the braking. I wish it was a little bit stronger so we could test them better, but again, I don't want to take my DIY board out here. So for the full review of these wheels, we'll figure something else out. But since we got the rain here, might as well try it. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the Hydro wheels after I do the braking test. We're gonna go back there, do a couple braking tests, see what line we finish at, and then we'll switch the wheels. Alright, so we're going to go up to 10 miles an hour, and then we're going to brake right at the sign. Oh, definitely some slide in there. If you're at higher speed, you definitely feel that some more. Alright, let's do it one more time, and then we'll switch wheels. Not enough acceleration force to brake traction, but definitely enough braking force. Alright, 10 miles an hour. Oh, so wet. And braking. Sliding for sure. Alright. Alright, there's 2 braking tests. Very scientific, I know. But, you know, we want practical results. So, I'm going to go ahead and switch the wheels out, and then we'll do the same thing. See if the braking is any better. I think it will be, especially because of the grooves on the Hydro wheels. So, let's check it out. Alrighty, just finished the wheel swap and got the Hydro wheels on the Flex. They're looking pretty good. I think they look pretty decent on the Flex frame. The belt guards just barely fit around these wheels, so I don't think you go much bigger without taking off the belt guards, but that's not a huge deal. So anyway, I'm going to do a couple runs up and down this and record it, and then we'll go ahead and do the braking test and see if it made a difference or not. I expect it to make a big difference. However, of course, the braking strength is going to be less because the diameter of the wheel is bigger and the gear ratio is the same. So we'll see. Not a perfect test, but it's what I have for now, so that's what we're going to do. Transmission ratio, wheel size, there we go. Okay, we'll set this to 1, 0, 0. All right, we're gonna get up to 10 miles an hour and then we'll slam on the brakes. And bam. Well, there's certainly no slippage, but it also took longer to stop due to the increased wheel size. So maybe we would need more speed to see a difference, but I don't want to go too fast and fall. So do another one. And brake. Not too terrible. Definitely not seeing any wheel slip, but the slower braking is definitely noticeable. So I don't know if this test really tells us anything, but at least you'll be able to see what the water looks like when you go through the puddles. So I'm just going to go ahead and ride around a little bit, see if I can get a better feel for how grippy they are. I'll let you guys know my thoughts at the end. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and ride around a little bit on these Hydro wheels and see if they feel more grippy than the urethane. And on initial impressions, I think they definitely are. And the main benefit being probably cornering rather than braking, because when you're cornering, your wheel wants to slip, but with these, you have the grooves that help expel the water away from your direction of sliding. So again, I mentioned in the last video that I'm not experienced at sliding, so that's going to be a tough one for me to test, but maybe someone else out there in the community will be able to test that. For me, we're just going to go ahead and keep riding, see how they compare. Just going to cut to probably a montage now, unless I find an interesting spot. Alright, so let's take a look at what the deal is here with the Hydro wheels. Let's go back and look at some footage of the urethane going through the water. As you look at this, you'll see the pattern in front of the wheel where the water gets spread out and kind of goes up the surface of the wheel. That is one of the problems with urethane, and a lot of the times when you slip on urethane in the wet, it's because you hydroplane, because there's nowhere for the water to go as your wheel compresses it across the ground. As you can see there, again, it flies out in front of the wheel in kind of a little sheet, and that is what causes your hydroplaning. Now, with the Hydro wheels, which we'll show here, with the Hydro wheels, you can see the water gets flung in all sorts of directions, up to the sides, and generally not in front of the wheel in a sheet like you see with urethane. That is definitely a good thing. The interesting part is that these are all at approximately the same speeds of 10 or under miles an hour, and I'm not sure that you would necessarily be slipping at that speed, but the proof of concept is there that the rain grooves, as it were, do their job and fling the water out to the sides. So, how good are they really? Well, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in the full review, but baseline, it seems like they'll do decently well in watery conditions or moist surfaces to keep you from hydroplaning and slipping out when it's most dangerous. But I do not condone riding in wet conditions. There is nothing good about water for your board, regardless if you think it's water resistant or not. It damages bearings, it can get in motors, and it's just not really a great time. So this is really one of those cases where it's like, do you want to encourage riding in the wet by having wheels that are supposed to work well in the wet, or do you just want to have these because you know it rains a lot where you are and maybe sometimes you'll get stuck with wet conditions? I think that specific scenario is something that these can do really good at, and I don't know if I'll be riding these too much, but they are decently comfortable. While that was not a main goal of these wheels, they do a pretty decent job, and I'm definitely not upset while riding them. They provide a little bit more cushioning and a little bit more of a pleasant ride over the 85mm Exway wheels, but at a huge sacrifice to torque. So I recommend, if you're going to use these on an Exway Flex ER, definitely change up the gear ratio to a 40-tooth pulley or so to get a little bit of your torque back, because both torque and braking suffer greatly from just moving up to the 100mm wheels. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little look at the water performance of the Hydro wheels. I might not get a chance to look at this again, but be on the lookout for the full review of these wheels, which will be coming, well, sometime. We'll see when I get to it. But stay subscribed, get subscribed, and follow me on Instagram to get those little updates between videos. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful Christmas, and stay safe, keep on riding, and peace out.